Hello, everybody, and welcome to Pit Road Productions for the start of a new season. The Sportscar Series that we broadcasted the last 6 races of over the last couple of months, returning for Season 2, rebranded the Elite Entertainment Sportscar Series. The first round here at Daytona International Speedway. We have got a nice big field of GT3 cars ready to tackle the banking at one of the most famous, most legendary courses in the world, the host of the 24 Hours of Daytona. Bringing it to you live here on the Pit Road Productions YouTube channel. It's me, Reese Gardner, with Rob Campbell alongside me, also in the commentary box, and handling production behind the scenes. Rob, really hyped for this series to be returning. I really enjoyed being a part of the show last season, and now we've got, some extra support that has come in from various parts of the community. The WBM guys really helping out to get the series off the ground even further. We got a great field here for round 1.
Yeah, as you mentioned, we got 2 series that we broadcast last season joining together here, Reese, to develop some mega series. We had limited numbers in both series. It's nice to see them join together, enjoying a nice big field. But yeah, as you mentioned, we got some competitive drivers we've seen in a number of different series. So it'll be interesting to see once they're all kind of grouped together here, who kind of rises to the top. Seen some familiar names at the top and some other ones that haven't really put in a time here in qualifying that I expect to see them start moving up towards the sharp end of the field as we get a little further along.
Yeah, absolutely. And what a schedule we have for this second season of the series. Daytona, of course, here for the first round. We go to the streets of Long Beach for round 2, then over to Italy, racing at Mugello for round 3. Laguna Seca and Hockenheim rounding out the first part of the season. Then in July we go to Spa, Silverstone and Imola, with Rudskogen and Sebring rounding out the season. Going to be an incredible sequence of races here. Plenty of tracks on this schedule, being your typical sports car racing tracks, and GT3 drivers should be very familiar with them, with a couple of outliers, namely Rudskogen. That's going to be an interesting round indeed. The free track, part of the base content in Norway. So, well, let's see how things pan out over the course of the championship. Starting things off with the Nifty Lift Sportscar Series champion, Drew Trader, racing in the number 25 Corvette. He's managed to put himself P3 in the qualifying session, and looking forward to seeing if he can get another lap down.
Yeah, Drew, one of those drivers, Reese, that I had mentioned early on that wasn't quite at the top of the field here in qualifying, but I expected to see him move up through the field. And surprise, surprise, once we go back live here, he's managed to get himself up into a 3rd spot right now, just behind Dylan Newhart. Dylan, we've seen him in a couple of series that we've broadcast to as well. Generally a pretty quick driver. I think the last time he raced in this series with these drivers, he kind of walked away with the race at I believe that was, it was in between Fuji and Sebring. I'm trying to remember what track that was last time, but he handedly won that race. Oh, it looks like Reese is just muted here for a moment. A little USB issue, so we're follow along with Morgan Smith.
my headphones just fell apart. It's a very convenient time for that to happen. So I'm going to be with just one can on the ears for this one.
I think we need to get this on screen here, Reese. We got to get a look. There we go. So the ever-professional Reese Gardner won't let the headphone malfunction get him down, folks.
Yeah. Well, I'll have to get the super glue out. See if I can't repair that. Oh dear. These Audio Technicas that I have, they've served me well for a long time, but it seems like every pair of headphones I get, they end up falling apart somehow. I guess I'll just have to open up some cash in the budget to grab a new pair today. Well, if maybe some super glue would be cheaper. Regardless, a minute left in the qualifying session, and we'll see Kyle Mills here make his way into the chicane for the final time. Mills running the emblazoned Mustang here. See if he can improve on 8th place, 145.7. He only needs to gain a couple hundredths of a second, and he could potentially find himself up a few positions. Parker Dime getting his first lap in late in the session and going straight to the provisional front row with just 30 seconds remaining in the session. Mills crosses the line, and there's the improvement that he's looking for. Gets all the way up to 6th place, down to a 45.744. Still needs to gain a 10th if he wants to start in that top 5 or so. Well, our Pit Road Productions car, which we're going to be having at every round this season, hopefully, driven by Zippy. He's just put his first initial time in, and that's a 146.0, good enough for 16th place. Fozzie Fazillo on his final lap here as the session has ticked over, and we're just waiting for those drivers currently on a lap to finish it, and that will be our final qualifying order.
Yeah, it looks like it's shaping out to be a bit of a battle of American machinery at one of the most iconic American tracks here. Race with, it looks like most of our top 10 being occupied by either a Ford or a Chevrolet, with a BMW, BMW, Ferrari, and a McLaren kind of rounding out that top 10. So interesting to see. Generally, the Corvette hasn't been all that competitive here at Daytona, but it looks like it's fairly strong here this season. I've tried running it before. It's really a bit of a knife edge car heading into turn 1. So hopefully our Corvette drivers here have got a handle onto them, because you hate to see a massive wreck turn 1, lap 1. That could cause a whole lot of chaos here to start this one out.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, as you said, very solid spread of machinery here in the field. We have Corvettes, we have Audis as well. Tim Fiedler drove the Acura last season, and he is looking to continue that momentum with another mid-engine car with about 4 extra cylinders behind his seat there. The Audi V10 singing as he makes his way around the banking in behind the Corvette. Fiedler 17th place. Car ahead of him, John Holloway. He's going to practice pit entry here because there is going to be a pit stop in this race. And Fiedler is unable to improve on his position there, though he did set a new personal best in qualifying. Well, that is going to round things off for qualifying, it seems. While we've got time before the grid, a quick thank you to our title sponsor of the series, Elite Entertainment. Are you ready to turn your event into an unforgettable experience? At Elite Entertainment, they bring superior quality that keeps the dance floor packed. Whether it's a wedding, corporate event, private parties, karaoke, or music bingo at your local venues, Elite Entertainment's professional DJs know how to set the perfect vibe. They cover Western North Carolina and Upstate South Carolina, so book now and let Elite Entertainment make your event memorable. Here we go then, as the session is about to officially tick over to the 45-minute race to come. And setting the quickest time up the top of the field was Austin Diltz in the number 14. Very excellent time there, 1 minute 44.3, taking advantage of the slipstream. Parker Dime putting himself in second place there for WBM, with Dylan Newhard and Drew Trader on your second row. Morgan Smith and Kyle Shelton are going to round out your third row, with Kyle Mills and Jacob Quayle 7th and 8th. Kalman Giori, another returning driver, second place in the first season of the Sports Car Series, starting 9th alongside Ryan Gleason, rounding out the top 10.
And then we're going to find Fozzie Fazillo in 11th. Matt Murphy going to start beside him in 12th. Luis Rios and Adam Capps are going to make up 13th and 14th. Michael Piccaccini, I'm not sure if I got that one right. Race, we'll have to find that one out, but he's going to start 15th beside our head cheerleader, Daniel Zippy Salmon, in 16th. Tim Fiedler in 17th. Cayman Lackney in 18th. Scott Heron 19th, and Jacob Herr going to round out the top 20.
And the last two cars on the grid being John Holloway and Anthony Rosas, Corvette and a BMW, rounding out our 22 cars to start this first round of the Elite Entertainment Sportscar Series. And, well, Austin Diltz is, sorry, that's Dylan Newhard. He runs faces on his liveries. This time it seems he's gone for Shrek. Let's see if that ogre energy will get him a podium out of this round. Just jumping onto the grid there, Austin Diltz and Parker Dime, the WBM cars running Cam Waters Supercars livery on their Mustang there. That's a nice little taste of home for me as they roll around behind the pace car.
Yeah, a little homage there to the Land Down Under race, but be interesting to see if Dylan Newhard comes out like Shrek or ends up like Donkey as the race goes on. I couldn't let that one go. I was biting my tongue not to jump in earlier race, but I'm sure we've seen him with some feats of great extravagance. He should be able to hold himself well, but last year's championship winner Drew Trader going to start just to his outside in row 2.
Yep, for sure. Drew Trader has certainly got a little bit of momentum to keep up here. He obviously drove last season from the very start, and so had a great points advantage over a lot of the new, faster drivers that came in throughout the second half of the season. But Trader has put the practice in. He's gotten it up to speed and will be starting 4th for this first round of the championship. But let's see if the Cam Waters clones at the front of the field will be able to keep those 2 positions there as Barney is holding the green flag high. And we wait for those lights to go up as the pace car is in and Austin Diltz is already away. Nice early start there through the restart zone. And we are through for round 1 of the Elite Entertainment Sportscar Series. Diltz leading into turn 1, nice and deep on the brakes for Parker Dime. Trader going wide in turn 1. He's going to let Dylan Newhard pass, so the Corvettes remain 3rd and 4th, but in a slightly different order. Morgan Smith in the WBM BMW. That's certainly not going to be a tongue twister we have to deal with throughout the season. Pressuring Trader now for that 4th position. Let's see what he can do here at the International Horseshoe. You got to go flat out just about through this kink and then hard on the brakes. Difficult to pick your line through this first hairpin.
Yeah, it's be interesting to see how that BMW does. It's kind of a car that's fallen by the wayside in the GT3 side of things, Reese. So it was really competitive when it first came out for a number of seasons, and iRacing kind of leveled out the BOP a little bit. And a bunch of new shiny toys came in the last 12 months or so. We think we've had 4 GT3s, and it's kind of pushed the BMW back a little bit. So we've seen Morgan Smith in a number of series be competitive in the Ford Mustang. So we'll see what he can do in the BMW here, as a couple of his teammates still out front in that aforesaid Mustang.
Yep, Austin Diltz and Parker Dime holding on very nicely to those top 2 positions, but it seems Dylan Newhard has had a very good first lap here. Race pace looking good for the Corvette, flashing the lights to let them know he is here, and he's looking to stay with them for the next 43 minutes. Now, of course, this is a fixed setup series, and that means that every driver has got minimal stuff that they can change on the car. There's also a fuel tank restriction in this series, so it's going to force a pit stop. We see a move up the inside there from Dylan Newhard, and Parker Dime gives him the room through turn 1, and the 125 is through to P2. Tell you what, Dylan's on one heck of a charge here at the moment, but that's very deep from behind there from Parker. Good thing there was empty space in front of him, otherwise that could have been disastrous.
Yeah, from that angle, Reese, I thought it was going to get messy real quick. As you mentioned, Newhard on a mission here, trying to get that Corvette up front to represent Team Chevrolet in this battle of American machinery. But now he's going to split those 2 supercar liveried Mustangs, and he's going to try and push forward. But in behind, looks like Morgan Smith has gotten around Drew Trader as well to bump Drew back into 5th place, and that's going to move Morgan up 1 spot.
Yeah, looks like it. Drew Trader feeling a little bit unstable potentially in the first couple of laps. I've always noted in my own racing that it's very hard to, actually get some momentum going at Daytona, because the optimal lines seem to change every single lap, and you got to try and stay on top of that. There's close racing a lot further back here. Kyle Mills is leading this battle for 6th place that stretches all the way back to 14th, and it looks like he took maybe a bit too much grass coming out of the Le Mans chicane there, we affectionately call the bus stop. Kyle Shelton with momentum out of the corner, and it looks like it's going to be a trade for position for the Mustangs coming down the start-finish straight, or is it? Shelton sticking behind here, potentially a bit of bump drafting, bit of slipstreaming going on here. That's going to be a big fixture of this race.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what they need to do right now, Reese, to try and close up that gap on the top 5, who have opened up almost 3 seconds over this battle being led around by Kyle Mills. So they got a nice pack of cars here. If they can stay nose to tail here, work together for a bit, they should be able to close that back up. Looks like something just went off in behind here. We'll see if we can catch a replay.
Yeah, Matt Murphy in the McLaren here involved in an incident. And was this a solo spin on the inside? No, it wasn't. The Mustang of Luis Rios turning in, but wasn't quite far enough ahead of Murphy to hook up the apex. Contact between the two of them, and they fall to the more or less back of the field there. Rios now 19th, Murphy in 21st. Check back up here with Kyle Mills. And it looks like the infield has gone a lot better for him than it has for Kyle Shelton. Jacob Quayle, the only car apart from our leader Austin Diltz and Anthony Rosas in last place, who currently hold the position they started in. Everyone else is either up a couple of positions or down a couple of positions as they find their way to Le Mans once again. Check further back here with Jacob Hurd, 15th place, holding on between Scott Harrer and Adam Capps, who is one of our league administrators here. See what Adam will be able to do to hold on to this one. The McLaren, very slippery in a straight line, so we'll see what Jacob Hurd can do to hold off Scott Harrer here. The Acura, though, is a very fast machine in this particular build, so I'm looking forward to seeing how the Acura will be able to latch onto the back here.
Yeah, that Jacob Hurd is our biggest mover so far, Reese, up 5 spots where he qualified beneficiary of a couple of those incidents we just looked at earlier, but strong showing for him right now as he's got himself up into 15th after starting in 20th. Looks like he's going to try and work together with Scott Herron behind to try and chase down our leader, Daniel Zippy Salmon, up ahead, who's up 2 spots too as well from where he started.
Yep, Zippy having a consistent race so far. Decided basically at the last minute to go for the AMG. And look at the racing here a bit further back. Fozzie Fazillo looks like just made a move on Ryan Gleason there and is now up into 9th, up 2 places now. See how he can nail the exit coming onto the oval. That's one of the most difficult turns to get right here. And, well, it makes sense that it's the most difficult because it leads onto the most significant part of the track, this back straight. It's all about getting the exit from the corners right here at Daytona. The straight line speed is paramount here.
Yeah, as long as these cars can stay in a draft, they're not really going to be able to get away from the ones in behind, but it looks like Dylan Newhard's still trying to put some pressure on Austin Diltz up front. This 3-car pack now opening up almost a second and a half over Morgan Smith and Drew Trader in behind. So they're continuing to work together. They're not really battling here, Reese. Looks like they all have a common strategy right now to see Parker Dime giving Dylan the razzle-dazzle here, letting him know that he just wants to keep pushing forward, not battle, and see if they can open up that gap even further.
Well, angling it nicely towards the apex of turn 1 there is Newhard. Seems like this first sector is very strong for the Corvette. It is an American 1, 2, 3 in terms of car brands up the top of this field at one of the American rounds of this series. 7.5 minutes complete so far, which means we're potentially about halfway to the first couple of laps where drivers will be looking to make a pit stop. And the way the race has panned out so far, top three with a breakaway. Morgan Smith and Drew Trader are going to have to make some big moves to get up to them, as it looks like another coming together has happened, this time between Luis Rios and John Holloway. It's further back in the field.
Oh.
Holloway, oh yeah, Holloway, it looks like, had a bit of a slide in the Corvette there, and unfortunately, poor Luis Rios had nowhere to go.
Yeah, the door closed awful quick there, Reese. I thought maybe he had a moment to get through there, but then that Corvette just kind of snap hooked around, and there's not much Rios could do there. He was just a passenger. Kind of like when you're sitting at the traffic lights and a car gets broadside headed through the intersection. You're sitting there and not much you can do. Fortunately for Rios, I believe they get a quick repair in this series, though, if I remember correctly. So maybe he can get that car around to get an early undercut here and utilize his spare car and get back out on track.
Yeah, he is hoping. Still plenty of time to get out there and at least circulate to the end and get some points. Move to the inside there for Dylan Newhart, and the door is still slightly open there. They get side by side through turn one. Austin Diltz a little bit deep in the first corner, and the Corvette now leads Dylan Newhart to P1. And look at the advantage being taken there by Parker Dime. He's going to go side by side with his teammate. Easy does it. You don't want to be running side by side for too long, otherwise you'll let Dylan Newhart get away. Once you lose the slipstream here at Daytona, it's game over.
Yeah, it looked like they were going to try and make a Corvette sandwich there for a minute, Reese. Once the Corvette got through, there was a Mustang on either side. I was just waiting for the top of the bread of the sandwich to get pushed down to close that meat in there, but Dylan was able to get himself through. So we'll see if he's got the pace in that Corvette to start and pull away from the two Mustangs. A little quicker getting onto the oval section out of the infield section here, but those Mustangs are still going to be in the draft. If they can work together, they can reel them back in by the time they get to the Le Mans chicane up ahead.
Yeah, looks like, fortunately, they haven't lost too much time there. They are still well within slipstream range. At Daytona, you start feeling the draft from about maybe 1 to 1.5 seconds back, and it just gets stronger the closer you get. It's all about the exit from the corners, as I said. And, well, it seems the Mustangs are staying pretty consistent with the Corvette for the moment. Back to Jacob Hurd. Looks like he's starting to reel in Adam Capps here. In fact, I think Capps just made a move there on Jacob Hurd, and up the inside into the chicane. The Corvette will now be ahead and back up into 15th place. Parker Dime, meanwhile, has slipstreamed past Dylan Newhart into turn one, but he's got the outside line. He's going to have to take to the runoff area. That is a little too deep there for Parker, and he's going to fall back into third as a result. Just picked up the slipstream out of the Le Mans chicane. Problem is, when you're on the outside here, it's rather difficult, especially once you run off the track and into the concrete there, to maintain grip.
Yeah, especially with the marble and debris system iRacing introduced a couple seasons ago, Reese. There's definitely going to be a whole lot of debris out there that's going to unsettle that car. But looks like Parker, fortunately for him, didn't lose the draft or that, so he's still in this pack. No, but they're losing time to Morgan Smith and Drew Trader as they've been able to close down that gap a little bit. Only a couple tenths, but they continue to battle here up top. They can shortly have a 5-car battle here for the lead.
Well, yeah, Trader and Smith, they are setting times pretty similar to what the front runners are setting at the moment, so they might just hold station for the time being. Kalman Giori, meanwhile, is trying his best to keep up with Fozzie Fazillo here. Fazillo, one of the biggest gainers in the field. He, Michael Piccinini, Tim Fiedler and Jacob Hurd all up 4 positions each. So we'll see who the hard charger really is at the end of the race here. Giori might make Fazillo back down 3 positions up as he picks up the slipstream out of the corner.
And interesting to see the comparison between these two cars, Reese. Generally, the McLaren, one of the strongest cars in the straight line, but we see that Corvette utilizing the draft. I'm not sure if Giori can have enough draft to make a move into turn one. So he kind of stalled out once he got to the back bumper of Fazillo.
Yeah, not quite able to get the momentum going. And, you know, I on my end, I was keeping an eye on Austin Diltz and Parker Dime, who they're still trying to chase down Dylan Newhart. They were bump drafting down the straight, and they were actually hitting the rev limiter. So that goes to show just how speedy these cars are getting. Look at this fight here behind Fazillo and Giori. Kyle Shelton, Ryan Gleason in the Sol Ferrari in the field. And then we have Piccinini and Quayle at the back of this pack. I'll be very interested to see how this works out after the pit cycle, because, you know, Quayle in particular, all the way at the back of this train, he can save a bit of fuel and potentially shorten his pit stop here. Got the draft benefit of everyone ahead of him.
Yeah, he's got to get himself up there a little bit more, though. He's kind of in danger of losing the draft at the end of the pack here, but this train here, Reese, has kind of been status quo as it's been since the start of the race. These guys are going almost 15 minutes running nose to tail here without really causing much carnage. So it's always impressive to see to have that many cars that close together, especially on a track that has the Le Mans chicane here, which generally can breed a whole lot of carnage running that close to the cars fore and aft.
Yeah, of course, GT3 machinery is quite focused on mechanical grip, but still can be affected by aero instability. Speaking of instability, the Mustangs trying to find their way around the Corvette here and having some difficulty filing back into line there. Austin Diltz now back past Dylan Newhart to lead the race once again. And there goes Parker Dime up the inside. And with all of that, the top three are now right back where they started at the green flag of this race.
Yeah, so they shuffled the deck for 15 minutes, and the deck's back to as a new race. But I'm interested to see. I thought with all this battling, that Morgan Smith and Drew Trader would be able to close down the gap a little quicker than they have. But maybe they're just kind of biding their time back here, expecting maybe something to happen up there between the three of them. If they continue to battle, maybe they'll wreck each other out, and Morgan Smith and Drew Trader will come through with clean cars.
I think the big benefit that the top three have here is, yeah, they're battling hard for position, but they're driving in such a way and making sure that they're in the order out of turn one, that they're not losing any time to Trader and Smith behind. If anything, sometimes they're gaining time on Smith and Trader. So, you know, they've gotten out to such a gap at the moment of about, say, 3-4 seconds or so. That's how far Morgan Smith is back from the lead. That, yeah, they can afford to fight with each other a little bit harder. But now, Dylan Newhart, looking back from him, we'll see Smith and Trader just creeping a little bit further up. We are now under half an hour to go in this race. Out of turn one, Austin Diltz will lead the way, and he is the quickest car on track that time by 1:45.0. This time didn't have any challenge into the first corner for the first time since lap one.
Yeah, just having a look at the quickest time set. Quickest times all by our top four drivers, so no surprise to see them up front, but only 1/10 separating all three. Our top three drivers only separated by 1/10. Morgan Smith another 4/10 back on his quickest time, but shows you how fairly matched these three drivers are up front, Reese, and explains why we've seen so many positions swap back and forth for a lead spot.
Well, if this is anything to go by, we are in for one heck of a season. These drivers are battling so hard with each other. The racing is incredibly close. There's still not much of a change here in this battle here from 7th now back to 12th, but this is, I think, another one of those situations where you get the feeling the drivers are just biding their time until the pit cycle. A race at Daytona that's so slipstream heavy, where you can really alter your race by saving fuel in the draft. you are holding station as best you can for the first part of this race, and I think it'll really come alive once we start seeing drivers come into the lane. We've already seen pit stops from Luis Rios and John Holloway. Unfortunately, we seem to have lost Anthony Rosas at the back of the field. He has been in the pits now for going on 4 minutes, so shame to lose him, but we'll see what the 21 remaining drivers can do, 20 of which are currently on the lead lap. 16 laps to go for our leaders as they find their way out of turn 1, 2, and 3 down to the third turn of the International Horseshoe. Exit's so important out of here. I'm surprised that they're taking such a narrow line on the way out. Usually in the Daytona 24, I've noticed drivers really love to go beyond those white lines at the exit of turn 3 and at the entry to turn 1 as well, but these guys are playing it a little more conservative.
Yeah, the esports line, I guess is what they call that, Reese. But yeah, I tend to see that more in the prototype type cars. I'm not sure if it's just because they have much more downforce and top speed. They're able to carry that speed through there, where the GT3s seem to have far superior braking over the prototype machinery and get the car wound down a little bit more for turn 1. But you're right. You see the top pros out there, they like to take it to the far extremes out on the right side of turn 1. So we'll see if maybe as the race goes on, if Diltz, Dime, or Newhart start to explore a little farther out there to see if they can maximize their exit speed out of turn 1 and potentially make a move through the S's.
I noticed Austin Diltz was going down an extra gear there in the Le Mans chicane to get a bit more rotation on the way through the corner. Be interesting to see if Dylan Newhart and Parker Dime end up doing the same thing here, as the number 57 will have a little tappy tap, some Morse code on the rear bumper there from Dylan Newhart, who now takes fastest time of that particular lap, 1:44.6. Rather quick there for Dylan Newhart, and I'm sure that he won't pressure Parker too hard. He'll actually try and push him up to Diltz and maybe be able to get the both of them there. Giori and Shelton side by side into turn 1. That's the battle for 7th place. Kyle Mills starting to get away from them, and Giori completes the move up 2 positions there. Very nicely done from the man who was second in last season's championship. Looks like we briefly had a problem for Ryan Gleason, and it's actually a massive problem for Gleason. Most of the bodywork of his Ferrari has now disappeared. Looks like a massive coming together at turn 1. So it looks like this was a bit deep and hello.
That was
what on earth happened there?
That was a very minor contact to lose the back end of his car there, Reese. Let's see if we can take another look at that from another angle here, but
yeah, it looks like Fazzillo. Oh, there's the contact there. Fazzillo actually ran right into the back of him. It didn't look like too heavy contact.
I lost the front end too.
Yeah, that's not ideal. Fazzillo maybe a bit too deep, and not and Gleason potentially going to a line that Fazzillo didn't expect. So now Ryan Gleason will have to take the quick repair in the pit lane. That is looking a lot closer to a road spec Ferrari 296.
It kind of looks like one of those Volkswagen dune buggies you would find on the beach, either in Australia or the beaches in Florida. It'll be interesting to see how he makes it through the chicane here without any real downforce in that car. A little bit of downforce the GT3s have, he's really going to feel as he comes through here, having to slow it way down. So hats off to him getting it through there without losing the back end.
You really get a demonstration there as Morgan Smith is the first of our front runners to come into the pit lane. You really get a sense, seeing that damage for Gleason, how Ferrari constructed the 296 GT3. They ended up going for a sort of a lot like what with Audi did for the original R8 Le Mans prototype. Just massive segments of the car can just detach from each other. So when there is an incident and the car loses bodywork, it loses quite a bit. Well, Gleason has made it into pit lane. He unfortunately has overshot his pit box, but the quick repair is on, and he's managed to get that car repaired. He'll get some service done while he's at it, get the fuel in the car. We are not expecting drivers to take tires. Tires lose you too much time in the pit lane versus, you know, the small amount of fuel you have to take, and the tires on the GT3 cars last practically forever anyway.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see with the tire update coming next season, Reese, how that changes things. I've read a little bit on it. It seems like to be somewhat similar to how the prototype tires are here now, with taking about 4 or 5 laps before they really come into optimum temperature. So I'm not sure how a knife edge they're going to be to start out, but it'll be interesting to see a lot of our drivers. Actually, I guess most of our drivers are going to have to relearn how to drive the GT3 machinery. So the first couple of weeks of next season are going to be real interesting. Unfortunately for our drivers in this series, it's going to happen right in the first quarter of the season of this new league. So it could switch up things after the results of the first couple of weeks.
Yeah, certainly could. Be interesting to see how the pecking order changes in terms of the cars people choose. Giori and Mills, the next cars in the pit lane. As just a few moments ago, I saw a massive incident for Michael Piccinini. The WBM McLaren ended up running a little bit too high out of oval turn 3 and hit the wall. Fortunately, a massive tarmac apron down low to catch him, though I would imagine that he has a bit of damage that he will have to get repaired in the pit lane. Joining Mills and Giori in the pit lane is Scott Harrer and Jacob Hurd. We're now approaching about half of the field, making their way into the pits here, but our front runners are going to continue on for another lap here, it seems, unless they're going to surprise us out of nowhere. They'll move to the outside line here on the way into the Le Mans chicane. The WBM Cam Waters Mustangs of Dilts and Dimes still leading the way conclusively here. Newhart's been able to get amongst them, but every time they've gotten them right back.
Yeah, I was having a look for that Piccinini incident, Reese. For some reason, it didn't flag on my system, so I got something for Anthony Rosa, but nothing for Piccinini. So I'm wondering if maybe he had a connection issue and it didn't flag in my system as an incident for some reason. But it looks like Dylan Newhart and Austin Dilts are going to come in for service. Parker Dime going to go around one more time.
Well, I think the reason it didn't flag as an incident for you is that Piccinini did not actually spin from it. He got almost 90 degrees to the racing line, which would have flagged it as a loss of control, but it happened on lap 13. So, yeah, well, there we go. That's it happening ahead of Fazillo and Caps there. So, yeah, he just, I think, got a bit of understeer, or maybe wasn't steering enough, went high out of oval 3. And the wall just bounced him off, and he found his way into the apron there. More pitters here. We have Drew Trader just completing his stop there. Newhart and Dilts have come in as well. Shelton, Fazillo, Caps, Piccinini, Salmon, Fiedler, and Cameron Lackney as well. Parker Dime has stayed out for an extra lap. And in the pit cycle, it seems that we have Dylan Newhart passing Austin Dilts. A little bit of extra fuel saving, I think, for the Corvette. He's got a shorter pit stop time, was able to beat Austin Dilts through the lane by 1.5 seconds.
Nicely done by Newhart. Hopefully he's got enough fuel on board to get him to the end. Sometimes, Reese, I've seen where drivers spend so much time fuel saving in behind the car ahead that they get that fuel savings, but they forget to account that if they come back out ahead of them, they're not going to get that same kind of fuel usage towards the rest of the race. So we'll see if Newhart's taking enough fuel load on to get him through the end, but our leader, Parker Dime, coming in for his stop.
Yep, in comes Parker, and I would imagine Jacob Quayle is going to follow him in very shortly. Looks like about 15 laps they can make maximum on a stint here. Jacob going to stick 2 drivers left and move his way into pit lane. It's a very difficult pit entry here at Daytona. Yeah, it's hard to pick your point to start slowing down, and Very easy to get a speeding in pits penalty, but it looks like all the drivers have avoided a speeding in pit lane penalty there, which is good to see. So Dylan Newhart will cross the start-finish line as Parker Dime exits pit lane. He's still on the limiter there. Quayle also completing his stop. Dime will exit ahead of Newhart. He'll keep the lead. A 17.4 second pit stop. That seems equal fastest pit stop of the day. Also shared with Fozzie Fazillo and Matt Murphy.
This is the largest gap we've had in our top three since the drop of the green, Reese. So it'll be interesting to see if they manage to get themselves bunched back up, or if Parker Dime is able to walk away from Dylan Newhart. He's got that 2.1 second gap right now. So Newhart is out of draft. Austin Dilt's kind of almost lingering within draft and behind there. It'll be interesting to see once they get up on the oval section if Diltz is just kind of on the edge of draft. If he can close up on Newhart, maybe the two of them can work together to chase back down Parker Dime.
Yeah, big potential there. Kalman Giori has gained another position through the pit cycle. He's now sits 6th. He is quite a few seconds off Morgan Smith and Drew Trader as Daniel Salmon tries to get the nose in. Battling with Kyle Mills, has Piccinini right behind him there. Piccinini taking pit stop on the same lap as Salmon. And I think it makes sense there for Piccinini in particular, because he had just had that spin coming off the banking. Might as well minimize the pain and take your pit stop then and there. Let's see what Zippy will be able to do here behind Kyle Mills, who's down 4 positions on where he started. Has one of the longer pit stop times here, but Zippy has the longest pit stop time of all at 20 seconds.
Well, at least he didn't get a speeding penalty this time, Reese. We've seen him do that in the past in various other leagues where he's had a good race go to naught by speeding into pit road. So he's firmly programmed a pit limiter button onto that wheel, and he was able to use it this time. But a little bit of a battle of the pit road production commentators here. Zippy trying to get around Kyle Mills, has been featured in a couple races here so far for us this season. So Michael Piccinini trying to make his way around both of them on the outside using that McLaren horsepower.
Yeah, Piccinini is on the outside though for turn 1. He'll have a clear road ahead of him, but he'll get alongside Zippy into turn 1, and oh, there we go, wide for Kyle Mills. Zippy is through into 11th place, up 5 spots. Pretty impressive run there from the man behind Pit Road Productions. Doesn't have the most positions gained in the field, though. That belongs to Tim Fiedler, who's worked his way into the top 10 just up ahead there. He is up 7 places. Very nicely done in the Audi.
Yeah, well done. That Audi car that, you know, I guess it's still used in real life racing over in Europe a fair bit on privateer teams. Reese, I'm kind of sad to see that Audi just disbanded its sports car side of things to focus on F1, as even when they decided to do that, they're still more or less the top of the king of the hill in a lot of the European series. So still competitive car out there. Tim Fiedler, one of our lowest iRating drivers in the field, but he's got himself firmly planted. Final spot in the top 10, so well done by him.
Yeah, indeed. iRating is not always the best indicator of someone's outright pace. I will constantly make that point. You know, Fiedler certainly has had some good runs in the previous season of the championship where he had the Acura underneath him. Piccinini, meanwhile, still not able to find his way past Salmon and Mills, but here's the slipstream. Massive slipstream. He gets a double draft off the Mustang and the Mercedes, but he lifts off. There's no way through for Piccinini here at turn 1. See how things change in the braking zone. He's a bit deep, almost gets into the back of Zippy, and he tries to find a gap to the inside, but the Merc holds strong. Iron Brew strong.
Good thing that big old fat Merc has enough weight under it, Reese. I think he might have got a little bump from the McLaren, but well done by all 3 drivers not to get into each other into turn 1. This is our closest battle on track right now. The leaders still we have a big gap between them. Actually, looks like something happened to Austin Diltz. He's fallen way back off of the back of Newhart.
Yeah, looks like it. Now holding on to a gap of about a second, but still a little bit in slipstream range there for P2. This battle is catching all of our attention, though. Things are looking very interesting here. Can Kyle Mills... Oh, he couldn't get the power down there. The Mustang was struggling a little bit out of the corner, and so Piccinini will probably take advantage of that. Crucially, still with slipstream off Daniel Salmon. Remember, this battle is only for 11th place. There's battling all throughout the field, which is fantastic to see. Who gets the best exit out of the Le Mans chicane? Good speed in for the McLaren, but it seems that Piccinini pushed a little bit too hard on the way in there. There's going to potentially be another trader position here between Zippy and Kyle, but there's no room to the inside. Daniels put his car in the exact right spot there, didn't allow the Mustang to get the inside line, and they're going to be bump drafting all the way down to the first turn.
Yeah, there's not much more pushing Mills could have did there to try and keep Zippy up ahead, but the three of them going to head into turn one here side by side. Looks like Piccinini finally going to make that move around Mills to get himself up into 12th place. So see if he can find a way around Daniel Salmon. He looks like he's been the fastest car out of the three the last couple laps, but just unable to make that pass firm and final into turn one.
Well, the McLaren has made its way past the Mustang. Oh dear, I think I see a problem for Luis Rios. He is stopped on the inside of the corner coming up onto the banking. And it looks like the Mustang may very well be done here today. Oh dear, it looks like actually it was a, I think a hardware issue potentially there for Rios. He completely cut the infield coming into turn one. So he is going to have a massive, massive slowdown, a black flag as well, I'm sure. But yeah, a big damage for the Mustang as well. I think potentially a hardware issue there for Rios in the number 10.
Yeah, it's unfortunate for Rios. We saw him get involved earlier with that Corvette. I think it might have been Holloway that snapped loose early on. He had to pull in and use his pit stop a little earlier than expected. He's just kind of nursing it back around. So you may be right, Reese. If it was a hardware issue, looks like he's trying to take it easy to get back around, not to really damage anybody else's race. But he might be further ahead just to tow at this point in time.
Yeah, that's a shame. Head back to the battle for 11th place. Michael Piccinini is now geared up on Daniel Salmon. And this WBM McLaren is looking rather quick. Remember, Piccinini is a bit out of position here. He was a few spots ahead before the pit cycle, before his spin. Wide line through turn one. He's going to have to give up the position to Kyle Mills there. A little bit too deep for the number 32.
Yeah, a little optimistic heading around the outside into that corner. It's hard to make that stick, especially with the track temps we got here. We're midday here at Daytona. Actually, only 28 degrees Celsius track temps, so not all that bad for a sunny day in southeast Florida, Reese. But
it looks like actually the in-sim date is the 13th of January. So still very much in the depths of winter, virtual standard time.
There we go. As our top three still separated by about a second and a half. Looks like they kind of got stagnant to Reese. I think all three of them really realizing they're out of the draft of one another, barring a mistake. They're probably going to finish where they are right now. The battle between Morgan Smith and Drew Trader is going to get stagnant too as well. Trader's followed about 4 seconds back of Morgan Smith. So actually, it looks like Trader, maybe it's just the camera shot. It looked like he's going a little slow on the front straight, but it looks like he's back to speed. Calvin Fiore, last season's second place driver, got himself up 3 spots into 6th place. A strong showing for him. It was a battle between him and Trader, 5th and 6th place right now for the championship last season. So not surprising we've seen the two of them one behind the other on track.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know what happened to Trader there. I was thinking maybe a slowdown, but he didn't cut the Le Mans chicane. So that's a bit of a mystery there for the 25. Oh, easy does it up the inside there for Mills. Zippy struggling for grip, so is Mills on the exit of turn one. Piccinini will probably be thinking, man, these guys are making mistakes ahead of me. I should be ahead of them. But he just can't get the momentum he needs to clear them.
Yeah, it's interesting to see that he seems to have the run, and then once he gets to the bumper into the dirty air race, just like the front end of the McLaren is just like hitting a wall, just can't maximize the pace. I'm wondering, you mentioned that the Mustangs were hitting the rev limiter on this straights. I wonder if that's happening with the McLaren too as well, as he just hits that wall, can't get enough overrun in the draft to make the pass.
Yeah, well, Daytona setups usually have a big gear ratio, and I mean, as I say that, gear ratios are actually fixed on GT3 cars, full stop. They have one set of gear ratios that'll be fine for just about every track. So, yeah, potentially with the double draft, they reach the very limits of that. Top speeds about 270 kilometers an hour without the slipstream. We'll see what Piccinini will be able to reach here with the double draft. Once again, the Mustang of Mills is already over 250 here behind Zippy, and they're not even out of Oval 4 as things stand. Just reaching 273 as he makes his way past Zippy ahead. Piccinini losing out quite a bit out of Le Mans. Side by side again. Zippy defends to the inside of turn 1. And that little exchange brings Piccinini ever closer once more. Coming out of the pits ahead of them is Luis Rios, but he's going to immediately go off the track there. It seems like there's still plenty of damage on that Mustang, and he's escaped back to pit lane. So a disastrous round for Rios there, and it's a disastrous exit from the International Horseshoe for Kyle Mills. Round the outside of the kink here is difficult. Michael Piccinini is going to have just enough room to the inside to stick it up the inside of the horseshoe here. Mid-corner momentum for the Mustang, but the McLaren is finally through.
Yeah, and that allowed Zippy to open up a couple tenths, but unfortunately for him, Reese, they're heading back up onto the oval. So that's all going to go by the wayside as they'll easily draft back up to him. But they continue to battle. It's been gloves off here for 11th place for a number of laps. None of these drivers, Reese, have been able to capitalize on getting out front. They just kind of continue to make, as you mentioned, a couple mistakes, a little bobble here or there. And unfortunately, when you're driving with drivers that are virtually all of the same skill level, skill set, same pace, one little bobble can cost you a spot. And we've seen that happen here a number of times in this battle.
Yeah, Zippy's far enough ahead now that Piccinini won't be getting a full benefit of the slipstream. And Kyle Mills has the full benefit behind the McLaren. So now there may very well be a move into turn 1. Piccinini's going to stick all the way to the inside. That is exactly what I would do in that situation. Bump draft from the Mustang, and they're both catching up to Zippy at a rate of knots. Piccinini just touches 280 on the way into turn 1. That is approaching 200 miles an hour. Just magnificent pace that we're seeing from these guys. Or actually, around about 180 or so, I think, is a better conversion there. Of course, I live in metric land, so yeah, I'm not too good at on-the-fly conversions unless it's, you know, straight up 100 miles an hour is 160 k's an hour. So yeah, once you start getting into higher numbers, it gets a little more difficult.
You were pretty accurate, Reese. I'm having a look here. Michael Piccinini was the fastest car on the track last time by. He clocked in at 178, heading at top speed. So you nailed it within 2 mile an hour. Well done.
Cool. So I haven't lost my mental maths acuity from primary school. Nice. Well, Parker Dime is going to make it 3 laps to go up at the front of the field here and setting a very good time indeed. 144.9 for a no draft time and non-qualifying. That is actually rather good. So there's plenty of grip still in those tires. The fuel's burnt off. The car is light at the moment. Dime is making good use of the Mustang there. Dylan Newhart unable to match his time. But Austin Diltz running about 2/10 faster than Newhart on the previous lap, so there's probably still going to be a battle here for second in the final few laps if Diltz can nail the next couple of laps.
Yeah, it's interesting, Reese. Both Dime and Dilts are only drivers into the 44s last time by, but Dilt's only 2/10 slower than his quickest time, which definitely would have been when they were drafting earlier on. And Parker Dime, half a second slower than his quickest time. So, as you mentioned, well done by both those drivers. Without any draft, you put in those kind of lap times. Impressive stuff, but Parker Dime handily out front. But as you mentioned, Dylan Newhard slowly getting reeled in by Austin Dilts. And we saw Newhard with one of our quicker pit stop times where Dilts was a couple seconds longer. So we know Dilts definitely has enough fuel to get to the end. I'm wondering if Newhard might be saving a little bit here to get to the end, and that's allowing Dilts to reel him back in.
Yeah, that might be the thing here. No slipstream benefit for Newhard, so he isn't able to lift off in the braking zones. So we'll see how the fuel situation looks for the 125, how the fuel looks for everybody really in the last couple of laps. Battle starting to emerge between Kalman Giori and Kyle Shelton for P6. We finally have another wheel-to-wheel battle potentially to look forward to here. Giori was 6/10 slower than Shelton on the previous lap. So not a good run in the very near past for that 71 Corvette. Shelton in the Mustang is going to draw up to the back of him just a little bit here. And it seems that Giori, yeah, he's not quite reaching the top speeds that he would want here. Drawing ever closer into turn one, nice and late on the brakes there for Shelton, but he's a bit wide there at turn one. He'll have to nail the next couple of apexes to stay in touch. Fazillo is coming back into the pits. A second stop for the number 61. Did something happen to Fazillo? Something happened to John Holloway coming through turn one here. Turns in for the corner, and the rear end decides no thank you. That's a very easy thing to do. I've lost count of the amount of practice laps I've done here at Daytona where the rear's gotten free under brakes. Fazillo looks like did stop in the box. Well, no connection issue for Fazillo. He stopped in the box. I think he might have underfueled it.
Oh, possibly, because he's trying to go to his flag moment here, and it's just going to scenic mode. Normally that's when the driver blinks out, but I wonder if it was just maybe a quick connection issue, flag that. But as you said, in and out of the pits there for Fazillo, but looks like Gleason in behind had a little bit of an incident too as well.
Yeah, Gleason coming through the International Horseshoe, trying to maximize the entry, but as he got on the power, it looks like the traction control kicked in. And once the traction control kicks in on a GT3 car, it's very difficult to arrest the slide that results. So Gleason, unfortunately, now down 8 positions from where he started. It's not been a good first round for him, but he can at least take away the fact that he has solid pace. White flag is out for Parker Dime and Dylan Newhard already, but across the line for Kalman Giori, he's going to keep defending from Kyle Shelton. One of the closest battles on track at the moment, and it looks like a 4th driver has joined the battle for what is now 9th as well. Zippy, Piccinini, and Mills are starting to catch up to Tim Fiedler.
And they've just started their final lap too as well, so they've got a whole other minute 40 to battle this one out, Reese. But it's getting down to the nitty-gritty. Looks like Zippy might be the only one to try and battle with Fiedler. Oh, I say that, but then Piccinini throws it deep into the entry of the first horseshoe there, closes up that gap on the back of Salmon really quickly. So we see how these drivers get out onto the banking section, where they can really let the cars loose, see if they can close in on Fiedler. Fiedler might be a sitting duck right now heading into the Le Mans chicane, and then out of it, it's going to be really a battle of who can get the best exit out of there, Reese.
Yeah, well, the battle is over for who can get out of the final corner first. Parker Dime ahead of Dylan Newhard by 1.6 seconds. I think that's 1 imperial second, potentially. Checkered flag is out, and Parker Dime will win the first round of the Elite Entertainment Sportscar Series. Newhard and Dilts complete your podium. Kalman Giori versus Kyle Shelton for 6th place, coming out of the corner here. And it's flat out all the way to the line. Shelton is not going to be doing any bump drafting here. He's going to be making sure that he's alongside for the run to the line. Will he have the momentum? Giori breaking the slipstream on the way down to the start-finish line, and he will protect 6th place. Well done for 2nd place in last season's championship, Kalman Giori. Meanwhile, riding the bottom of the banking there was Michael Piccinini, not able to get the momentum over Daniel Zippy Salmon there. Fiedler is going to take 9th ahead of them, and Zippy gets into the top 10. Mills settling for 12th place. Adam Capps, a league administrator, will finish lucky 13th, with Matt Murphy coming home in 14th. Lackney and Hara, hello. This is a drag race to the line, and it looks like Lackney is just going to beat Hara to the line there.
Yeah, well done by those two drivers. Clean run to the finish. Looks like Ryan Gleason going to be our final driver. Oh, sorry. Jacob Hurd will be our final driver across the line, and that's going to make it official for round 1 here, race.
Certainly is. 20 cars getting to the finish there, 19 of which were on the lead lap. A very nice turnout and a great finish to the first round of the new season. They're still battling on the cool-down lap here between Zippy and Mills. They've got a bit of a score to settle, apparently, but it will be time for our results there. And oh dear, it looks like Piccinini has been given a post-race penalty there. I think he actually either went over the incident limit, or the crossing of the double yellow lines through the banking might have flagged him in the system. He'll be classified 19th in the end. Parker Dime, Dylan Newhart, and Austin Diltsey a podium, with Smith and Trader rounding out your top 5. Yuri, Shelton, Quayle, Fiedler, and Salmon are your top 10, with Mills and Capps 11th and 12th, with Murphy finishing 13th. Cayman Lackney in 14th ahead of Scott Hara. Fozzie Fazillo could have been a lot better for him, but he had to come in for a second pit stop. Ryan Gleason suffered damage and a spin on his way through, with Jacob Hurd and Michael Piccinini last finishers on the lead lap there, with John Holloway the last finisher a lap down on the rest of the field. We had retirements from Luis Rios and Anthony Rosas. A big shame for the two of them, but it is a long season. There's plenty of opportunities for further events from here. It's time for interviews at the end of the race, and the first one we're going to chat to is the number 57 of Parker Dime. Second place in qualifying for you, Parker. It was a great battle between you, Austin, and Dylan. It seems you and Austin trying your best to work together in the early stages, but ultimately the Corvette splitting you.
Yeah, I mean, he's so fast through the bus stop and the infield. It was kind of hard to stay consistent, so I had to rely on sticking the draft, because Daytona is always a draft race. So once he kind of fell back from the first stint, I started to try and fuel save off Austin, try and fuel cut and undercut both of them, just to make sure, because I knew he was probably going to try to do everything he could. But yeah, it ended up working out really well.
Well, the win in round 1, that's going to put you in the lead of the championship coming into the next round. Obviously, reviewing the schedule, it's a good variety of tracks, and we're going to have to deal with a rejig of the GT3 class once they get the new tires midway through the season. So are you going to, do you think you're going to stick with your choice of the Mustang, or are you going to think about a car switch mid-season?
I know it the best, and I don't know. I think the only difference is everyone's going to be on the same playing field the first 5 laps. It's going to be probably a little tricky, but next race is Long Beach. I love Long Beach. I'm glad that they were able to throw that on the schedule, but I'm not sure. We don't really get a lot of time to test the cars before the 3rd race after the update, so I might just be sticking with it.
All right. Well, I'm very happy that you had the Cam Waters Supercars livery on the Mustang there. A little bit of Aussie pride there, and bringing it home in P1. Is there anyone you'd like to thank before we let you go, Parker?
Sir, thank you to the wife, my parents who will watch this, and WBM team. Shout out Prime will be the new logo we'll be rocking here pretty quick, so monster logos will leave.
All right. Well, Parker Dime will celebrate his victory there as we move to Dylan Newhart, stood by with Rob Campbell for the 2nd place interview.
Yeah, welcome in, Dylan. Well done getting yourself into P2. A heck of a battle there between yourself, Parker, and Austin to start this one out. Looks like you were able to capitalize on a quick pit stop to get ahead of Dilts there. Was that something you were planning early on when the three of you were battling, try and save a little fuel to possibly move up a spot through the pits?
No, I was actually flat out for most of that first stint there until I'd say like 4 laps to go or so. I kind of backed off a little bit and tried to save a little bit of fuel to extend another lap, but couldn't quite make it. I was like very close, but it wasn't worth the risk, so ended up under fueling the car and saving a little bit throughout the second stint. So I jumped Austin in the pits, and then the relative stayed the exact same throughout the second stint. No gains, no losses, but it was super fun. It was a great battle through the first half, a lot of fun.
Yeah, we enjoyed watching the battle to start. We head from one great American track to wide open, tight, high speed racing to tight confines of Long Beach next week. How do you feel you're going to do at Long Beach? Do you have much experience with it there, or is it something you're going to have to put in some work in this week to get ready?
I actually will not be able to make Long Beach next week. I will be back for Mugello though, and I've driven it before, just not on iRacing. So I know the track, but it's gonna take some getting used to, especially with that new tire model coming in that week.
Yeah, we're going to come in right smack dab. Maybe that'll be the best thing for you. You only have experience with the new tire model, but we look forward to seeing your livery next week, or I guess in 2 weeks' time. You didn't make a donkey out of yourself with the Shrek livery, so well done, Dylan. Anybody you want to shout out
Thank
before
you.
we let you go?
Yeah, I'll shout out to you guys. You guys always put on a great broadcast. Thanks for that, and then everyone that helps run this league. We got a massive turnout this week, and that's a big thanks to everyone that helps run that. It was a whole lot of fun seeing everyone join, all the new faces.
Well, thanks for that, Dylan, and best of luck in 2 weeks' time.
Thank you. See you guys.
Well, brilliant stuff from Dylan Newhard, and our pole sitter, Austin Dilts, ultimately coming home in P3. That's going to be the end of it there for round one, Austin. Still a great points haul from the first round of the championship.
Yeah, a little disappointing though. You know, thought I had more than third, but Dylan and Parker were rapid, so it was tough. The relatives weren't really moving at the end. It was kind of crazy.
And especially in the first half of the race, it was all about the slipstream, really. And you and Parker were trying to work together a bit of bump drafting down the front stretch there. But yeah, it looked like in the pit cycle, you guys got separated. Your pit stop was 2 seconds slower than Parker's. What do you think was the reason behind that?
I missed my pit stall. Had to reverse. Yeah.
Fair enough. Fair enough. That's a big penalty to take, especially at Daytona, a track that's so dependent on so much flat-out running.
Yeah, as soon as the draft got broken and Dylan got out ahead of me there, I knew that it was going to be really, really tough to catch one of them, let alone both.
Well, regardless, considering you were the pole sitter, you've certainly got pace in qualifying there in the WBM Mustang. Do you think that the momentum is going to continue throughout the rest of the season? A big variety of tracks that we're going to.
Yeah, other than Mugello, I'd say that I've got decent pace at all the tracks. I know that next week Parker's gonna put a masterclass on. Long Beach is his home race. Never been able to best him there. It's pretty quick, so it'll be fun to watch.
Yeah, certainly will. Hopefully you're up there amongst it, Austin. Anyone you want to shout out before we let you go?
Yeah. Shout out to my wife for taking care of the baby while I'm racing. Shout out to my dad for watching. Shout out to the team. And shout out to you guys for putting on a great broadcast.
Shout out to you as well for finishing third. Austin Dilts there, taking the last spot on the podium. And it looks like we have one more interview ever so briefly here with Daniel Salmon. Well, you managed to hit the pit speed limit in time, Zippy, and you got yourself a rollicking battle at the end there.
Oh, it was absolutely fantastic. So as soon as I came out the pits, I seen Kyle there, obviously PRP's newest commentator, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Kyle Mills, a Bold Eagle machine. And I happened to see said Bold Eagle machine right alongside me. He gets ahead, and I just give him a little bit of the flash, the old razzle-dazzle, as Mr. Rob Campbell would say. He dabs the brake lights, and at that point I knew we had a connection. And it was absolutely beautiful, and we're just having a good fun. And I'll be honest, I felt like a little bit of a douche. It was defensive driving on an elevated precedent, but I absolutely loved it. I was pretty bored till then. I do apologize to Adam. We just reviewed the incident, me and a couple of the guys outside, and racing incident, the turn one, but I was feeling slightly guilty that I hit the league founder. It was a brief feeling guilty, and then I'm all like, okay, I'm going to carry on again. But, I mean, it is what it is. I'm here to race, right? And, if I'm in the car, I'm here to race. It doesn't matter who you are. I'm going to give it everything I've got. But it definitely spiced up the race. And then, we had Michael Pisicini. I do apologize if I've butchered that. Reese usually teaches me how to pronounce people's names and my ABCs. But, no, and then we had an absolutely epic freeway fight. And I got to be honest, this last lap, I felt I could have had Tim, and as we're going into the bus stop, I'm like, he's going to absolutely park it on the way into the bus stop, and lo and behold, he did. And then I got the car right behind me, and I'm like, damn it, and wasn't able to take it. But what a fantastic race, and a great turnout as well. 22 drivers today. Fantastic stuff. Sorry, I know you guys are supposed to do the interview, but I just kind of ran with it.
All good, all good. You can never quite get out of broadcaster mode. But yeah, well, we just saw that incident between you and Adam on lap 1 there. So, moment of shame there for you, Zippy. But as you said, racing incident. And we'll continue on for the remainder of the season. Thank you very much for joining us, mate. And yeah, we'll see you potentially out on track again soon. But whether or not you'll be here in the booth with me or what remains to be seen.
I'll mute myself, fellas. Thank you.
All right. Well, that's going to be our last chat there of the broadcast, Rob, and that's going to bring to an end round 1 of the Elite Entertainment Sportscar Series. And, well, I'm just looking forward to the season to come. This is going to be a magnificent championship.
Yeah, I think next week's going to be a real interesting race. If we get the same number of cars on track, 22, 23 cars going around the tight confines of Long Beach, it could be a rather exciting. So looking forward to that one. And the rest of the season, race 1 definitely came through and provided a lot of entertainment.
Certainly did. Thank you very much to everyone who joined us live here on the Pit Road Productions YouTube channel. And if you're catching the race on replay, thank you very much for your viewership. Really appreciate the lot of you. Big thanks to Elite Entertainment for helping to bring this series to the fore. Also, big thanks to WBM Racing as well on the sponsor list there too. Thanks, everybody. My name is Reese Gardner. Rob Campbell alongside me in the comms box and producing behind the scenes here on Pit Road Productions. I'm going to get my headset fixed, and we'll see you next week.